Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jiva Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arotika Shobha Jana Vetatavane Jagamanadapa Dakinitai chan Vamegadada Dakinitai chan Vamegadada Anikate Advaita Sine Vasa Chandada Nikate Advaita Sine Vasa Chandada Vasiyache Gaurachan Nanasemasane Vasiyache Gaurachan Nanasemasane Adati Karana Brahma Adideva Gane Adati Karana Brahma Adideva Gane Dare Hare Kare Chamara Duraya Narare Hare Kare Chamara Duraya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Kosadigaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Gosadikaya Sangha Vaje Ganta Vaje Vaje Kartara Sangha Vaje Ganta Vaje Vaje Kartara Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarsada Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarsada Asanka Vaje Kanda Vaje Madhu 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 Vaje Sangha Vaje Ganta Vaje Madhu 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 Vaje Anita Goda Hariva 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 Goda Hariva Nita Goda Hariva 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 Goda Hariva Kati Chancha Jine Vadana Jada Kati Chancha Jine Anandaru Jada Gada Deshe Vana Mara Kore Jala Mara Gala Deshe Vana Mala Kore Jala Mara Shiva Sukha Narada Prime Gada Gada Shiva Sukha Narada Prime Gada Gada Ambakati Vinoda Deke Koda Sambada Bakati Vinoda Deke Gaura Sampada Agaurangira Arati Shabha Jagajana Manalapa Gaurangira Arati Shabha Jagajana Manalupa Jagajana Manarabha Jagajana Manarabha Anita Gaura Hariva 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 Gaura Hariva Nitai Gaura Hariva 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 Gaura Hariva Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Buddhare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivesesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sigahas Krishna Chaitanya Prananityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasti Gaura Bhaktivinoda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj Ki His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj Ki His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj Ki Vyasa Puja of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasingaya Pralada Lata Dayane Hiranyakashipu Bhaksha Silatam Kanakalaye Eton Risinga Paraton Risinga Yata Yata Yamitaton Risinga Bahen Risinga Ritaen Risinga Narasingamadim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Nakamadbhutasringam Dalita Hiranyakashipo Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Nrsingadev, Jai Nrsingadev, Nrsingadev, Jai Nrsingadev. Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj. Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki, Go Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to our evening of remembering the pastimes of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami. 70 years ago on this day, the world got a bit brighter when Kadamba Kanana Swami took his birth. So we want to fill our consciousness with memories and stories about him from those devotees who have spent so much time with him. And we are so grateful today to have the association of two exalted souls, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj and His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami Maharaj, as well as Harinamananda Prabhu and Nitai Padakamala Prabhu today. Haribo. We will have an official Vyasa Puja celebration on the long weekend of 29th and 30th April, which will be a big festival with Harinam, book distribution, cultural entertainment, reading of offerings, and prasadam. But for today, we'll stick to pastimes and memories of Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj. Before we start, maybe everyone can come closer if they want, just like, so it's more of like a family mood here. And you can bring the chairs forward also. Our first speaker needs no introduction here in South Africa. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj is like a father of the ISKCON Durban community. Originally from New Zealand, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj joined the Hare Krishna movement in London in 1973 and received initiation from Srila Prabhupada. Since then, Maharaj has been a spiritual and managerial leader in the Krishna consciousness movement. He served in the BBT, distributed books, served as the temple president of Cato Ridge here in South Africa, helped raise funds to build this temple, served as regional secretary of South Africa, and was chairman of the GBC for many years. Maharaj has also traveled the world extensively to share Krishna consciousness, inspiring thousands of devotees and newcomers with his association and realized knowledge. In addition to his several lectures, kirtans, seminars, and retreats, Maharaj is also a teacher of various courses like Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav. I think many of us have studied at least one course under Maharaj's expert guidance. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. We are grateful that Maharaj has made Durban his home and that he has graced us with his presence here this evening. We all remember Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj and Kadamba Kanana Swami heading up various festivals and projects here in South Africa. So we're excited to hear Maharaj's memories of Kadamba Kanana Swami this evening. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatyadeshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakapaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj K. Well, pastimes. Anyway, I had a certain amount of association with Maharaj I'm sure not nearly as much as many of you, so I want to hear that actually. But I can say a couple of things, maybe things you're not aware of because you may not have been around. I don't know. Possibly you were not around, at least at that time. I remember sometime in the early 90s, I was in Vrindavan, and I was studying in Vrindavan, and His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj was there. And we've known each other for many years, and we were talking one day about an interesting subject, slightly unusual subject maybe, was that how, well, Srila Prabhupada says, or he quotes, on quite a number of occasions he quotes a Vedic verse, Panchasordvam Vanam Vrajet, which means, Panchasordvam, when you turn 50, then Vanam Vrajet, you should go to the forest, or you should take sannyas. That's the idea. So we were talking about that, and how, even though at that time, and of course now too, there are quite many householders actually who were turning 50 and more than 50, but they weren't taking sannyas. Yes, and we were discussing this point. It's sort of, anyway, I won't make any comment on it beyond what I said, but just the fact is like that. Many of them are, even now getting to be ripe old ages, and they're still not sannyasis. So anyway, we were talking about that, and I had actually raised the point in the course of, a sort of multifaceted discussion. And there's not many at all at that time. And Jayadvaita Maharaj said, well, actually, I know one householder, good devotee, and he is going to take sannyas quite soon. And he was referring to Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, Prabhu at the time. Maharaj was a householder at that time. He was president of the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. And, interesting thing, here's an interesting thing. I mean, I was not there all the time, but I was there I'd say at least a month or two a year, between 1 and 2 months a year, in Vrindavan at that time, studying at the VIHE and then teaching at the VIHE, Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. So Maharaj was the president, but here's an interesting thing. I don't recall having seen him lead a kirtan. That's really, you all know at least as well, better than me. You all know he is just the incarnation of kirtan. He really is. But he hadn't, actually, at least I can say, I don't remember him leading kirtan. And, I was staying in the temple and attending the full morning program and the evening program also. I mean, I've met others. I made this point in other gatherings of this sort recently, and at least one other said, well, actually, he heard him lead kirtan, but I didn't. Anyway, interesting. So yeah, Maharaj was there. He was a householder. His wife, well, I don't know her. I know who she is, but I've never spoken to her. I don't actually know her personally, but she's a serious devotee. And at that time, this is probably 92, 93, that sort of time, yeah. And at that time, in Vrindavan, in ISKCON Vrindavan, there was a group of very senior devotees, very senior, Prabhupada disciples, sannyasis, some or most of them, and gurus actually, most if not all of them. A group, I mean, not a big group, but maybe between 6 and 8 or something like that. And they were very studious. They were really into studying. And somehow or other, anyway, it's another thing I won't get into too much, but they had become involved with one leading, like a prominent member of the Gaudiya Math, who, anyway, yeah, that had happened. And they were visiting him regularly, like, maybe not every day, but every few days, few times a week, and studying, because he was apparently, a well-read person. So this was well known. This was just well known all over ISKCON, and particularly in Vrindavan. And Kadamba Kanana Maharaj was the president, and one of the main duties of the president of a temple is to see that Prabhupada's standards are maintained. It's just, really foundational service. So these devotees, I mean, I won't mention any names, some of you would know, but I mean, they're all devotees to this day, and they actually got out of that. They got out of that a couple of years later. They got out of that, and it was a whole big thing, actually. But Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, well, I must mention the name of one of them. The leader was His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who, if any of you happen to know him, like know him personally, he was very close to Srila Prabhupada. Very close to Srila Prabhupada. But somehow he got, involved with this non-ISKCON devotee. And like I said, at least everyone there knew, and many of the devotees did not appreciate that, including me for that matter. And so it was controversial. But the thing is, in regards to the pastimes of Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, that, for example, Krishna, on Prabhupada's disappearance day, Tamal Krishna Maharaj invited this particular devotee to come and, sort of play a very prominent part in the program. Some of Prabhupada's godbrothers would come, some, like 2 or 3, something like that, would come. And they'd sort of, when they're called on, they'd sort of respectfully say something about Prabhupada. But the idea here was that this man would sort of, anyway, be very prominent in the program. And he was not even a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, actually. He's a disciple of a godbrother. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was pushing this as only he could. I tell you what, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, if you don't know him, don't worry, but he was powerful. He was really powerful. And he really had a sort of conception of his position in ISKCON. And yeah, so he's organizing this. And I remember a couple of days before the devotee came, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj had him in the temple room and was sort of doing a build-up. I was there. And Kadamba Kanana Maharaj stood up against Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And you know what? Who would do that? Who would dare? Because he was really quite someone, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, quite someone. And this went on for a couple of years. And I remember watching it. Kadamba Kanana Maharaj intervening, not often, but from time to time, when this person would sort of be given more prominence than was appropriate. So I admired that. In fact, I thought, this Kadamba Kanana Maharaj is fearless. You know, for this, it may be dangerous to do this. Yeah. So anyway, then in 95, it all stopped. The involvement with these devotees. I mean, it was a big thing actually in the GBC body. And their involvement with him stopped. But Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, he stood up for Prabhupada. He really stood up for Prabhupada. And I was, from time to time seeing it happen. And I admired that. And I admire it to this day. Then, now I don't know if I should mention this, but I was present the night Maharaj was shot. Now, would it be best, I mean, I don't mind, but would it be best to leave that? I don't want to upset anyone. I mean, devotees are sort of upset enough with Maharaj's departure. But what do you say? Okay. So I was there. Maharaj was staying in what was, I don't think it is now, but at that time it was the Gurukul. And I if I remember correctly, on the floor above ground. And Prahlad Nanda Maharaj and I were staying on that floor together. We were staying in a room. If you know the setup there, I'm sure some of you do. It's a quadrangle with the open area in the center, and on the four sides, all these rooms and bathrooms and so on. And Prahlad Nanda Maharaj and I were staying in a room which is on the, what would you say, western side, like looking onto the walls, or like the walls or the corner of the actual temple building. So among other things, we got to hear the bell loud and clear. I think it was every half hour at least, maybe not quarter hour, I can't remember, but anyway, somehow we slept. It's one of my qualifications. I know how to sleep. So not and eat. I can manage to. Other things, not so good. So anyway, it was late. I did not look at my watch to see what the time was, but it was kind of in the middle of the night or thereabouts. And there was a knock on the door. And I was way away in dreamland. And I heard this knock on the door. And maybe I thought it was part of the particular dream I was in the middle of. But it didn't wake me up. I became sort of semi-conscious at best. So knock on the door. And Prahlad Nanda Maharaj got up. I mean, you can ask him about this because he was the one who really got into it. I slept through it. So he got up, opened the door, and there was Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, who had just been shot, like in the last, I don't know, maybe so many minutes, at least, put it that way. And he was looking for help. He hadn't found anyone because it was maybe midnight, if not, I'm sure it was around 11 or 10 or something. Couldn't have been earlier than 10 because everybody was asleep except the man ringing the bell. And I heard Kadamba Kanana Maharaj saying, I've been shot. Can you help me? And I'm just way away somewhere else. But I heard these things. And I didn't know, if I'd realized, wow, hey, this is for real, I would have got up. But I didn't get up. Anyway, if you want to hear more about it, talk to Prahlad Nanda Maharaj because he knows. So anyway, he came up and took Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, and I just stayed in the room and slept. And then he took Maharaj and, woke up others and made arrangements. And then Maharaj was taken to some, I don't know if it's the Methodist hospital or it's some hospital or other in Mathura. Yeah. So that's the end of what I know about that. But it was bizarre. I mean, it was more than bizarre, really. So then, after that, so that was after the discussion I first mentioned about people taking sannyas. That was 95, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I think he took sannyas, was it 98? 7? Okay. Right. So, but, we were sort of, we weren't close, but we were friends. We would greet when we met around the temple and here and there. And he was a very good temple president. And therefore, up until the end, he was involved in management in Vrindavan, part of the Vrindavan, I think it's called Vrindavan Executive Board, something like that, and the management in New York. He was part of that. And he's an extremely capable person. And then he, somehow or other, I don't know how it happened actually, but he came involved here, which was great. And Maharaj, he had his style. He had his style. I won't talk about that, but he had his style. That was very interesting style. But, we got on nicely. We got on very nicely. And he really helped. He really helped. Not just preaching in the African communities, which of course he gave quite some focus to, but in the organization of our temples right here in Durban. He was the regional secretary down here in KZN for a year or so, and helped sort out a few kind of clashes or problems between Radharadhanath Temple and New Jagannath Puri. He really helped a lot. But, his main focus, it seemed to me, was the African community and Cape Town. At least that's what it seemed to me. And when Maharaj was right in the last stages, the last few days, I asked Jayadvaita Maharaj if he could please ask Maharaj if he has some final instructions for me. Well, actually, I went to see him. I was in Vrindavan from late September till the 5th or 6th or 6th of November. I went to see Maharaj in that flat where he was staying, and we had really nice discussion. And he told me, I asked him, what are you working on? What are you going to do? What do you want your legacy to be? And that sort of idea. And he told me he wanted to make a book of instructions. Yeah, he wanted to, in fact, he said he was making a book of it, like final instructions for his disciples. And I think it was made. I did see something like that a couple of weeks ago when I was in Newcastle, just not long ago at all. And I looked through it, and it was really nice. But I asked Jayadvaita Maharaj, could you please ask Kadamba Kanana Maharaj if he's got any final instructions for me? And the next day, Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote to me, long message actually, and he told me that, Maharaj is just too incapacitated to really communicate. In other words, I left it too late. I could have easily done it a week earlier, but anyway, Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote to me and said that even though Maharaj, he couldn't ask him and Maharaj couldn't say anything, but he understood that Maharaj would want me to help with particularly the preaching in the African communities. So we had a program in Soweto about 2 or 3 weeks ago on a Saturday, I think. Anyway, on a weekend. And I told the devotees there that this is, I take it I mean, I assumed that would be what he'd say anyway, but I told them I take it that that is his desire for me. And I'm already doing it, but I'm going to do it. And for all Maharaj's disciples, for what it's worth, I'm here. I've already done this, been there, done that. When Prabhupada left, wow, completely out of this world, way out of this world. Been through it. It's really quite something. And then more recently, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, we also generally had a very good relationship. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, we had a very, very close relationship for many years. And now this. So, anyway, for what it's worth, that's all. I'm here anytime. If anyone wants to discuss anything or just anything, I'm here. I'm your friend, and I'm not just willing, but happy to help out if I want. If you want and if I can. Srila Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj Ki. Thank you so much for those encouraging words, especially extending yourself to all of us, disciples of Kadamba Kanana Swami. And thank you for sharing so much about him from before he was a sannyasi, before we all met him, I guess. Our next speaker is His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami. He's a disciple of Krishna Das Swami Maharaj and received sannyas from His Holiness Lokanath Swami. Maharaj first came in contact with ISKCON on his visit to America and joined Krishna consciousness in Botswana thereafter. Maharaj is from South India and is very astute in Vedic literature and speaks many languages. He's also very talented in reciting the Ramayana in expert detail and presents the epic with deep knowledge and colorful charisma. Maharaj preaches extensively throughout Africa and India. We are very fortunate to have his association here this evening. We remember that Ram Govinda Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj, and Kadamba Kanana Maharaj were locked down here in Durban in 2020, the beginning of the lockdown. So I'm sure His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami also has some memories to share with us, at least from that time. Thank you so much for being here, Maharaj.
ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते कदम्ब कानन स्वामी महाराज इति नामने. Hare Krishna. I was told to speak about the significance of Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja we celebrate to show our gratitude to the spiritual master. Adiguru is Krishna for the whole universe. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Here in the material world, Vyasa Maharshi is Adiguru. Everyone, all gurus are representatives of the Vyasa Maharshi. That's why we call Vyasa Puja. So Guru has to be given the reverence that like one will give reverence to the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada, many of his purports and lectures all said, Guru, spiritual master, is the external manifestation of Chaitya Guru, who is Krishna, Paramatma. In the Bhagavatam also, 11th canto, Navayogindra's Kavi, one of the says that Bhachaikamisham Gurudevatatma. But the advancement in the spiritual life, one must worship Guru as one would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Means for the disciple, spiritual master is the Supreme Lord. In that mood one should. But so spiritual master never will think that is the Bhagavan. He will think that I am servant. But disciple, on part of the disciple, he should always think that he must give reverence and respect to the spiritual master as he would respect, worship Supreme Lord Krishna. Bhachaikamisham Gurudeva Atma. Same is also spoken by Lord Sri Krishna also to Uddhava. Acharyamam vijanita na avmani na karichit na matya bujjasu yeta sarvadeva mayo guru. Uddhava, speaking to Uddhava, final instruction says that, know that Acharya, spiritual master, is me. So one should respect spiritual master at par with as the Supreme Lord Krishna. One should not think that a human being like you and me, one should not be envious of spiritual master. Even for a moment one is envious of the spiritual master life. So a disciple's spiritual life is finished. He never should be envious of the spiritual master. Always he should be subservient to the spiritual master, in the mood of service. When we want to learn the spiritual knowledge, only when we praise the spiritual master, when we start performing reading or anything, then the intent of the scriptures can be understood. And without offering our respect and meditating upon the spiritual master, even if we read, our eyes are scanning but we don't understand what it means by. You can practically try also. But for that, spiritual master essential, he reveals to the disciple the transcendental knowledge. He takes the responsibility of the living entity, the disciple, for the liberation from this material world. The word Guru also means Gukara andhakarasya rakara tannirodhaka andhakarat prakashascha Guru ityabhidhiyate. Guru means is the superior. So what is Guru mean? Guru means it is ignorance. The one who takes a disciple from his ignorance to the transcendental knowledge is a Guru. That's why spiritual master always engages his disciples in the service of the Lord. Reading, serving the Vaishnavas. This is all part of the spiritual activity. By serving Guru, we learn how to serve spiritual master. Spiritual master is a transmedia between the Supreme Lord and the living entity disciples. We have to learn how to serve Guru, then we can also learn how to serve Krishna. We are serving Krishna, sometimes we may negligent. Lord not going to immediately chastise. But if you are not careful to serve spiritual master, you are very careful. Cautiously we serve it. You can get chastised by fault also. So, by doing so, we get the mercy of spiritual master, thereby we get the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and that enable us to achieve the goal of human form of the life. The speciality is that we don't even ask for the liberation. Whatever spiritual master gives, that's fine. The full surrender doesn't mean that I will ask the Guru Maharaj this. No. Full surrender means unconditional surrender. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mama janmani janmani ishvara bhavatad Bhakti Haitikita. Life after life, I want to serve your lotus feet. We are not putting any condition. In the same way, disciple also should serve spiritual master. And spiritual master take the responsibility. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Tad vidhi pranipate na pariprashne na sevaya upadechanti te jnanam jnanyas tattva darshanaha. When you surrender to spiritual master and through spiritual master to the Supreme Lord, engage in serving the Lord, questioning will get the transcendent knowledge. So, to be grateful, to show our gratitude to the spiritual master, we celebrate spiritual master appearance day as Vyasa Puja. The disciple is eternally debted to the spiritual master. He never can be freed from the debt to the spiritual master. Why? Because he is the one that helped us to approach Krishna. He has given the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Some may say, no, mantra was there, we are hearing. We are reading from the books also, we chant it. Srila Prabhupada has given a nice example. The mantra, unless it is received from a spiritual master, it doesn't have much potential. Maybe you get material benefit, not the spiritual benefit. Srila Prabhupada says that the banyan tree, you might have seen it. Those who have gone to India, here I didn't see any banyan tree. The seeds you can take and put in the soil, you never get any plant. Unless the process is that the fruit has to be eaten by the bird. When segregates, from that one the plant will come up. In the same way, the mantras are in the book, but the mantra is given through the lotus mouth of the spiritual master. Not only giving that mantra, he is also giving the spiritual energy through this mantra. So therefore, one has to be very grateful to spiritual master eternally for having given this mantra through which one can get liberated. So we celebrate Vyasa Puja to show our gratitude to the spiritual master. When I met, after taking sannyas first time, I met, before also in Durban I used to meet Maharaj, His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj. After taking sannyas, I was in the Joburg airport. Maharaj also was going somewhere, it looks like. I paid obeisance to Maharaj. I told him that Maharaj, I took sannyas. He made me to sit with him in the airport itself. Then he told me, sannyas life is a very lonely life. Don't make it more lonely. Then I took it, then I thought, what does it mean? Then I started contemplating the meaning. What does it mean by Maharaj wants to say? Very deep instruction. I took it with my heart, it is. Also, when I was doing Bhakti Vaibhav, Maharaj was taking our class in the 5th canto. Discussion between Rahugana and Jada Bharat. Very wonderful transcendental discussion. He was taking that chapter. So wonderful. Maharaj is very expert in explaining the concept of the teachings also. I said, we can read the purport, but we have to understand what does it mean by it. That can be understood by the realized souls, not by everybody. That's why we always take association of Vaishnavas, spiritual masters, to hear what it meant for. So, last time I met Maharaj in Vrindavan in October 22, during Kartik time when I was there. I went to see Maharaj. Maharaj, though he was not well, but face-wise, one cannot say that Maharaj is not well. You can see the effulgence in his face, transcendentally situated. I remember that the devotees, Vaishnavas, in an advanced stage of their spiritual life, they are not in the bodily consciousness. Maharaj having lot of pain when after talking some time, then how is health? Maharaj said, I am feeling a lot of pain. But in the face you cannot see that Maharaj is feeling pain. When one is in the bodily consciousness, we feel pain and pleasure. But when you transcend the bodily consciousness, there is no pain, no pleasure. Eternal in the transcendental pleasure. So Maharaj, I felt, Maharaj is transcendental situated, is not bothered about his pain and pleasures. We are very fortunate to have association of such Maharaj. His Holiness Kadamba Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for reminding us of the position of Guru and the duties of a disciple, and for telling us about your last visit with Maharaj. And I think we could all see that even though his health was deteriorating, but we could never see it on his face during the whole time in Vrindavan, practically until the last month. We could never detect it. So our next speaker is Harinamananda Prabhu, who is from Australia. Maharaj once said, there's many gurus, but he has one kangaroo, and that's Harinamananda. He has been instructed by Kadamba Kanana Swami to do Harinam every day, and he's been doing that for many years. He travels the world doing Harinam Sankirtan and spreading Krishna consciousness, and has been visiting South Africa with Kadamba Kanana Swami for more than 10 years, leading Harinams, giving classes, and enlivening the festivals. He fits in well with the culture of kirtan and dance here in South Africa, so we're grateful to hear his memories of Kadamba Kanana Swami this evening.
Hare Krishna. I didn't know it was going to be so formal. Sorry about that. I may not be as formal. I thought it was everyone was going to share. So it was going to be a bit informal and everyone's going to sit around and have a laugh, but
Do that.
I joined in Melbourne, Australia in 2008, and within first few months of being at the temple, it had many sannyasis visiting, and Kadamba Maharaj was one of them. But we mainly had visits from Dimrita Maharaj, and the way they conducted themselves in relation to the devotees and disciples was very different. Dimrita Maharaj would like to deal with disciples all in reverence, and Kadamba Maharaj always had more friendly aspect, more casual. It seemed like that. Then when he came, like the first things I noticed was that his flying kirtans, obviously. He would lead Guru Puja those days, and everyone would be touching the ceiling. And I was really into fitness, so I got to show I could jump higher then. And I could last a bit longer. And yeah, just sweating it out. It was fun. And also another aspect of his classes was very humorous and many jokes and accents. And for me, it was actually I was thinking, if I do take a spiritual master, it's definitely not him, because I need someone to like really be strict on me and tell me off. And I didn't decide to take a spiritual master only after like 4 years of practicing. I was in the ashram already for 4 years, and many of my ashram mates were taking initiation after 1 year. And as I read Srila Prabhupada's books, I saw it's a very serious relationship. So as I kept reading it, Prabhupada was confirming that there's no hope unless you have a spiritual master. But how to look for one, I didn't know. So I was researching, in the index. We didn't have like the Kindles and all the search engines and everything. So in all the glossaries in the index, I was looking spiritual master, disciple. What is this? Disciple is a spiritual master. And I came to the point that to find a spiritual master, I needed to get association and service. So because so many sannyasis were coming through, once they came through the door, pretty much, I'd just come straight up to them. Can I get some association and service? And it was nice. They were very kind to me and gave some service and association. But I even with but it was always a friendly relationship. When I first came to Krishna consciousness, and after reading Prabhupada's books, I realized I was a demon, and that if someone actually really cared about me, they would go out their way to tell me off. But when you come to Krishna consciousness, devotees are very encouraging. Oh wow, you did that you're so expert. And I got used to that. And then there was one visit from Kadamba Kanana Swami, and I didn't go to him for association service. I was thinking, no, not him. And but they gave me those opportunities to serve, and pretty much for that whole visit, he was always chastising me for something. By the end of his visit, I was thinking, oh, he just hates me. But then that initial desire came up from before when I joined. It's like, wait a minute, everyone else was friendly, but he went out his way to tell me off. And then the desire in the heart burned, and then I approached our senior god sister Gunamani Nitai, and she allowed me to contact him with an email. So I said in the email, it was very short, I'm thinking about taking shelter of your lotus feet. The reply was like, yes, I'll accept you. I was like, whoa, this is too quick. But this is too quick. But I'm thinking, how else will I get someone of this caliber to give me shelter? How is this possible? Let me just go for it anyway. So then he's like, okay, let's catch up when I visit again. And he never really told me off after that. He was very nice and sweet. So when the initiation came, so I already had like a favoritism towards Harinam Sankirtan. There was like there was a taste for it. But because I saw the majority of devotees not taking it as like a very important thing in their lives, I thought, okay, this is maybe not the service for me. Maybe there's something more. But I liked it so much. So as I was serving him, I was complaining to my father. He's also a devotee. I was complaining to my father, I'm struggling with material desires. It's too hard, and how do I keep up? And my father was serving Maharaj, and then he brought up Maharaj. Can you tell him something? He has all these material desires, And then Maharaj just turns to me and he goes, he knows what to do. I'm like, what? I don't know. He says, if you want to conquer lust, make Harinam big. And I was like, this instruction that hit in the heart. So then it was like an open invitation to put as much energy and focus into that particular service, which was and is my saving grace in Krishna consciousness. It's a great shelter that he gave me. I feel that with Kadamba Kamaraj, he's not just doing that with me and even just with direct disciples, but just anyone that he comes across. He gives this shelter within devotional service, wherever they can find it, or like makes it feel like it's okay to give more into a service that you're so into. So at initiation, I guess it was a blessing. Like, I took a shelter from Kadamba Kamaraj, and my dad had already been a devotee for already 10 years already, but he never took initiation. And he was talking about taking initiation from Jayapataka Swami or something like that. And then out of nowhere, he approached Kadamba Kamaraj for shelter. He didn't really tell me about it. And then we got initiated together. So at initiation, he got the name Gokishore Das. And it was quite interesting because all the devotees were already calling him Babaji. He's quite simple and humble, and he's that nature. And then everyone was already predicting my name to be Harinamananda. Is that because I was into Harinam? And at the initiation it says, we could call you Harinamananda, but people will make fun of you. So your name will be Krishna Prem Das. But what happened? So when I heard, I was thinking, I didn't like it. But I think maybe I'll grow into it. So I just like, all right, let's take it. Later on, Maharaj found out that there was already a Krishna Prem in the ashram. So he thought, no, this is not good. It'll be too confusing, Krishna Prem 1, Krishna Prem 2, or, which one, So he was saying, what to call you? Premananda Krishna, Premananda. He goes, what do you want? I go, I like Harinamananda. All right, take it. And so that was interesting, that whole thing. So I tried to do this service of Harinam in Melbourne, in the ashram, but I kept clashing with the management in terms of trying to increase the service. And Maharaj saw my struggle there, and very early on he said, come to South Africa. He's like, Soweto, and the Africans, they love to dance, and he was always promoting it for me, but I was too attached to Melbourne. I was too attached to the temple. I kept delaying it. But there was one time he came through, and he took me with him as a personal servant in Sydney, Australia. And we spent a lot of time together then. Jananivas was his personal servant then, but he was doing collection. So then I got to be there. Yeah, didn't know how. Didn't know what I was doing. There's like two probably major instant pastimes that took place in terms of relationship with him. We had this Maha Harinam in Sydney, Australia, and we'd go down a place called Darling Harbour, and then we had to walk back uphill to the center of the city. And it's a steep hill, and devotees are so tired, and everyone's exhausted. But then Maharaj just took the microphone and just ran up the hill and singing and dancing with so much energy. I was like, whoa, so much energy. This is so much enthusiasm. And when I think about this third mantra from the Gayatri, that the spiritual master has so much enthusiasm, that's the picture I have of like Maharaj is dancing and running up this hill, trying to just take everyone with him. And then there was a time where there was this one Mataji, she cooked like 50 preps for lunch. And all these exotic preps, there was like what was this, lotus seed, or it's like a lotus, you can make a sabji out of it, and gulab jamins, different sweets, and especially Shrikant. She was Gujarati, so Gujarati Shrikant. And he was glorifying, it's like, this is very good Shrikant, this is the best you can get. He made sure that I knew what it was. And we tried to serve him and another Prabhupada disciple lunch, and they'd finish. And it was just me, and he goes, okay, dig in. And he always had this thing, every time me and maybe another devotee were taking prasadam, he'd just sit and watch and enjoy us enjoying prasadam. Just like in the Gurastakam, the 4th verse of Chaturvidam Sri Bhagavat Prasada, Swanana Chitam Bhagavat Prasada. That spiritual master is relishing that the devotees enjoying Bhagavat Prasad. But then I was alone, and he could say I wanted more. So then he just went for the Shrikant. And I think I've never been served prasadam in such a way with like so much love and eagerness, and it felt like I'm always gonna be there to care for you. Just by serving Shrikant, it was a simple action, but what was behind it was hard hitting. And at that same visit in Sydney, before that Maha Harinam, so the night before, Maharaj had these t-shirts, and I had this big bold writing saying, "Jumping is allowed." And that's what he wore to bed. And me and Jananivas were sleeping in the room next door. And then I think we all woke up at the same time. And then Maharaj, he opened the door and he said, "Okay, Harinam, it looks like your day today." And I was really excited, so I was like, "Yeah," and I did a little skip. And then he also skipped. And then we just started dancing around our beds. Chanting, first thing in the morning. I think Maharaj was expert in, I have this tendency to always be like, to go for like this strictness and super austerity. And he always pulled the fun out of me. Don't be so sour, let's have some fun. And he spent some time in Australia, and it really rubbed off on him. And for some reason, I always had to be his Aussie mate. And he's like, and he'll go, "How you going?" "Yeah, not bad." And he'll have to speak in Australian, and it'll happen in front of like German disciples, or happen in front of Mauritian disciples, and he had like some Australian lingo that was very advanced, even things I didn't even know about. So I think just to, even though being so exalted, to just relate on that ground level, it was very endearing. And he did that, again, not just with disciples, but pretty much anyone he met, just so he can bring them up towards Krishna. So, there are a few pastimes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Harinamananda Prabhu, for sharing those pastimes. And it's so true. Guru Maharaj, with everyone, he was always trying to give them a purpose and a vision. And he often said that he took the quote from Tamal Krishna Maharaj, that the spiritual master gives the disciple a greater vision for their life than what they would have come up with on their own. And Kanana Swami Maharaj did that with everyone he met, not just disciples, but everybody. Our next speaker is Nitai Padakamala Prabhu, who is from Slovenia and has been traveling as the personal assistant for Kanana Swami since 2019. During the COVID lockdown, they traveled across Europe in a van and had many adventures together, preaching Krishna consciousness, including getting robbed, which we've heard about. And Nitai was with Maharaj every day until his last breath. So we are fortunate to have his association today and hear some of his anecdotes. He has an excellent memory. Kadamba Kanana Swami often spoke about Nitai's excellent memory, and we've seen, and he's an expert speaker on Maharaj's pastimes, as we've seen in his various interviews and talks he's been doing. So we just want to hear him speak more and more about Kadamba Kanana Swami. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Now you have set the bar so high. Huh? No. It's okay. Actually, we in COVID time, first of all, we got separated for a whole year. He came here to South Africa. I was supposed to come with him, but because we were in America together, and just when I got to Europe and wanted to get my visa for South Africa, they locked down South Africa for everybody who was in the last 2 weeks in America. So he was already here. He actually bought a ticket 1 week earlier than he was supposed to fly here, because he knew the lockdowns are gonna happen. He had that, his managerial mind was, okay, this is all gonna be locked down, so I better get to South Africa before they do it. And I got stuck in Europe, and he was here 3 months, and then he flew back to Europe, and then he told me, okay, just stay in Slovenia now, I don't need you right now. So we were separated for a whole year, and after that he bought a car first, so we were driving around with a car, and it was a good car. It was a Ford Focus, and on the highway we would go around 160, which is about 100 miles per hour. And it was not that just I would go so fast. He would also drive that fast. He was a good driver, actually, and a very good. He could park very expertly also. Once we were in Holland, in Zandvoort, and it's a beach town, and there was no parking whatsoever. We were driving around and no parking space. So we just come around, and there's this big parking lot, and on the side there are a few cars, and there's just like a little bit of space. And I tried to park, and I sort of half park, get cars. Some part of the car is still sticking out on the road, and there's like very little space, like maybe 10 centimeters on each side, right? So Maharaj goes like, okay, I'll do it. And I had to be outside and tell him how much space he has. So he starts parking, and somehow or other he gets the whole car in, and then somebody comes from across the road. Very impressive. Very impressive. He goes like, yeah, I used to drive in the Himalayas, He goes, I had an assistant, and he would look down and tell me, 5 centimeters from the cliff, And he said, and the devotees in the back would go, such a wonderful view, looking at the mountains. And he would go, yeah, such a wonderful view. Looking down at the abyss, and he would see the cars that didn't make it down there. Yeah, so in many fields he was really experienced. Like he said, he could speak some advanced Australian lingo, even though he was not from Australia. Somehow or other he would just pick up on so many things. and become an expert at it. And then we had with us, we took Jagannath Sutta, and he would drive the car on cruise control on 160. And then Maharaj said, I don't like it so much, you don't, once you get in trouble, you can't just take your foot off the gas. It still goes the same speed. And then he said, it's better that you drive. So then I had to drive a lot, and we went to Croatia, and we in about just the other day, just before I came to South Africa, I did this schedule for the last 3 years, and then I realized actually how much we traveled with that car. It was insane distances. So we in a span of a week, we went from Reka Ratha Yatra, which was the beginning of our travel in Croatia, all the way down to Dubrovnik, which is about 5-hour drive, and we did all the towns in between. We did Harinams, we did programs, and then we went to Dubrovnik, which is on the southernmost point of Croatia, and then the next day we drove all the way up to Zagreb, which is like 5 hours. And on that drive, we got this nice samosas from this Mataji that was hosting us in Dubrovnik. And we would never stop. This was Maharaj's motto: never stop on the drive. No time for eating, just time for bathroom, and then just drive all the time. And if you want to eat, you can eat while driving. So to keep me awake, he would feed me as I was driving. And so I take this samosa and I bite into the samosa, but the samosa had a hole on the other side, so the whole thing went on my, it was a cherry filling or something like that. The whole thing went on my hand, and stupid me, I turned the samosa around and bit it on the other side, and the first bite just started dripping all over my hand again. So somehow or other I throw the whole samosa in my mouth and avoid getting the car dirty, but my hand was dirty, so I'm driving with this one hand and the other hand is dirty. So I go, what am I gonna do? And Maharaj goes like, forget it, he takes the tissue out and he starts wiping my hands like this, like I was his kid or something. So then I tell this story to my mother, because she's also a devotee, and my mother goes like, oh my God, what does Maharaj have to think about you now, instead of you serving him, he serves you. And I said, don't worry, Mom. He likes this kind of things. He liked it, these personal interactions. And one thing he did that I really appreciated was that, I gave my all for him, but in return he would really take care of me in any situation that was there, and in that way, as I saw that, I would be like willing to give even more. I would just do anything for him. And then in the last days I got the chance to really show my appreciation. I could do everything for him, because usually he wouldn't allow us to do so much for him. He would be, very self-sufficient. Here and there he would need some assistance to make it a little easier for him, to relieve some pressure. But usually he would do everything himself. But then in the last month or so, I really had to help him a lot. And I always thought of how these great acharyas also used to serve their spiritual masters in their last days. Like Ishvara Puri served his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, and then he blessed him profusely. So I hoped that Maharaj was happy with what I did for him and somehow or other blessed me. And I hope you all bless me as well. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, Ram Govinda Maharaj. I beg for your blessings also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nitai Prabhu, for sharing personal pastimes with Kadamba Kanana Swami, and especially how personal he was. It's true that he served us more than we could ever serve him, and he was always doing that. And he actually liked to serve. He once mentioned, I was there when he was trying to serve one of his disciples, and the disciple was, reluctant to accept it, and he said, "People like this annoy me." He's like, he doesn't like to accept service from me, and he insisted that the disciple eat something that he'd given him. Does anyone have any questions? I think because we have, Pita is here, and if anyone has any questions they want to ask him to keep the discussion going about anything, especially Guru Maharaj in the last days, or just, I don't know, his extensive travels with him. There's also that opportunity. There's a little bit more time. Nita Prabhu looks like he wants to say something. Prabhu, did you like to say something about Guru Maharaj or comment? Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Please forgive my attire. I came straight from university to this program. I wanted to be here to hear. We've been hearing you on all your presentations on YouTube and all that. I met, I was living in the temple. I was living in Phoenix for a while, and then I came here. Spent about 7 years of my life in the ashram situations. And at that time, next to the deity kitchen, it is not like how it's now. Just at the corner there used to be a room there also, just before you enter the deity. And by formerly Brihat Mridanga Prabhu, now Brihat Maharaj, he arranged for me to live in the temple, so I used to be in that room. And Maharaj used to come here to the temple often in his early days. So I think I'd met him before he took sannyas as well. So every morning I'd come up. I was still working then, so I'd follow the morning program and leave at about 7, just before 7, travel all the way to Phoenix. So when I'd go down to the room, then Maharaj would come and sit on the edge of my bed and speak to me for about 10-15 minutes every morning. Those are very fond memories, that he would encourage me, ask me what I want to do, and so on. So it was very often that he'd do that. And then over time, he allowed me to develop a relationship with him. And we were here when he gave his first initiation to Rancho Prabhu. There, I was present for that. And he had several disciples after that, and then he used to say, "Smita, this is new for me." Well, at that time I was only initiated in 94, but he would say, "This is new for me, I don't know disciples, they have so many problems." So there were one or two young female disciples, so I'd be the intermediary. They would have something to say and then tell it to me. I would go to tell Maharaj, and he would give me an answer back to them. After he got more used to his role, then he directly would deal with them. So that's a fond service. And I'd like to just speak about the recent also time with Maharaj. Last year in April, when he had his initial diagnosis, and he spent about 10 days at Sunil Mohan Prabhu's house. And because of my closeness to that family, when any spiritual masters stay there, I go to do service there. And so I was there every day with Maharaj. My timetable allowed me the flexibility to be with him. So we'd take prasad together, he would call me to sit there. Sunil Mohan would be there sometimes, some work we'd take together. And Maharaj would speak, and foremost on his mind was the education project. He'd always speak about education. There was a plan that he had about using an existing institution, UNISA, and getting especially the African devotees and give them an opportunity by which we would facilitate their studies through UNISA, but also add our curriculum of spiritual subjects to their day. So they would come out with a degree plus get the spiritual training, and in that way would put qualified people into society with the devotional training. This is his vision for that. That project is probably, it's going to happen as according to Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu. And he then also said to me that if you want to expand this education, then you do not necessarily have to be under the not authority, but the direct auspices of ISKCON. You could start an independent organization with Srila Prabhupada's books, and then he cited what's happening in England, and I said I should contact them if I wanted to do that. So we'd go for walks, japa walks with Maharaj. I think I went a few times with him, drive him. And then one time he was looking at his phone, so I had to accelerate up the hill. So I put the gas, and so it kind of accelerated quite fast. So he looked up, and he said, "Oh, because this is a BMW, right?" So then I said, "Maharaj, I want to tell you something. I felt a little awkward to get this car. I was not looking for a BMW. I was actually looking for a Toyota, because devotees may criticize you. You're doing all this preaching, then you're driving this car." But it's. Then he said, then he gave me the pastimes of the Autobahn. And I don't know who it was falling asleep. Was it you? No. But somebody's falling asleep with the steering, and the car had an automatic detector. It would detect the lane, and so it would rectify and bring the car back onto the line. And he said that 180 falling asleep is not a good idea. So little things I would share. And on 2 occasions we're driving back, and Maharaj has a very broad perception of society, and especially his feeling for the local people. So once we were driving to town, and one of the beggars came to the window. But from my experience, I know this was a guy who was pretending to be an invalid. He had his hands twisted like that and had his stomach sucked in, but it was not, because in the evening you see them walking away normally, right? So I said to Maharaj, he's pretending to do that. And Maharaj said, it must take real desperation for him to do that. So it taught me to look at it differently. And when we were driving back to Sunil Mohan's house, then there's God there. And that guy was not pleasant. He was always unhappy, So you could see he would move the cone with a little attitude and so. I said, Maharaj, I haven't seen this guy really smile, Just looks grumpy. He said, yeah, because he looks like he could do something better with his life, and he's forced to do this. So in that way, he changed my perception. about how to look at society and situations. I very, very deeply appreciate and miss Maharaj and his association. Because he knew also how to take a beggar and make him into a king. Jai, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Smita Krishna Prabhu. I was remembering when you came to Vrindavan in February, and you got to actually see Guru Maharaj when like, most people weren't allowed to. So I engaged you in some service to bring some books for him, and then to bring some books for Jai Advaita Maharaj, and then you got to see him, and he was speaking again about the education. So it shows how important it was and how close it was to his heart. Is there anyone else who would like to share memories, short stories? Just a few more minutes. Or we could have kirtan. Nitai, will you lead us in kirtan? I'm sorry, before the kirtan, I just want to make an announcement. So we'll have kirtan. There will be the 9 o'clock aarti, and they are serving halwa here at the foyer, but there's also popcorn and some other prasadam at the bottom. So please make sure you get that. And if any disciples here haven't received the Forever Present book, please see Radharaman or contact him. If you're online, contact Radharaman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, sing with me, sing with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha, Radha Nata, Radha Radha Nata, Radha Radha Nata Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha, Radha Nata, Radha Radha Nata, Radha Radha Nata Sri Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitaya Haribo, Haribo, Harimo, Nitaya Haribo. Nitaya Haribo, Haribo, Harimo, Nitaya Haribo. Gaura Premanande.
Once again, thank you so much, Harinamananda Prabhu and Itai Padakamala Prabhu, for giving us your association. And please take prasadam on your way out, everyone. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.